Hello, everyone. My guest today is Anil Chavla. He's the founder and CEO of a company called Archive Social. The technology ensures that organizations can maintain legal records of their social media and is most often used to promote transparency in government. In 2017, Archive Social collaborated with the Obama White House to launch the first ever archive of presidential social media. Anil, are you ready to take us to the top?
I sure am. Thanks for having me.
All right. Why is this kind of concept important?
Well, when you look at something like social media, it gets a lot of attention. Even now, certainly in the early days, grabbed a lot of attention. And now it's just a part of how we communicate, how we interact in society. And we pay attention to the here and now, how you make money with it and so forth. But anything that becomes that integral to how we operate also has this other side of policy and legal concerns, particularly for a business. And that side has to be addressed.
And so walk us through how your software addresses that.
Sure. So our typical customer is actually an organization it tends to be in a regulated environment. A lot of the work that we do is with government agencies. And so as they're communicating, as the city might communicate and put out information about a local crime or during a disaster, these tweets and these Facebook posts are government record. They're important communications that could lead to inquiries in the future through public records requests or through litigation. And so our software is a SaaS-based offering. It's a cloud-based service that automatically captures that content, keeps legal record in the background, and then helps these agencies produce that information if and when they need to do so.
And give me a general idea. I don't want to go down every customer cohort, but on average, what's an agency paying you per month for this kind of tool?
We're fairly inexpensive overall. The majority of our customers sit under $5,000 annual.
Okay, got it. That's fair. Good. So 5,000 annual, and then give me a bit of a background. And by the way, that would be what is it, about 400, 500 bucks a month, something like that?
That's right.
Yep. Do you bill only annually, or are there monthly options?
We do present a monthly option, but again, most of the work that we do is with government, and it's a great vertical for the other entrepreneurs out there who may not think of government as a sexy market. They actually do tend to pay upfront annually most of the time. So The vast majority is annual.
Just more efficient, right?
Absolutely.
All right, give us more of the backstory here. When did you launch the company?
So I started working on it in 2011. It really came out of my interest of building apps on the social networking APIs. I built a Twitter app and a Facebook app, and I was experimenting and had a set of ideas around keeping social information until one day I stumbled upon compliance. And as an aspiring entrepreneur trying to come up with a good business idea, nothing seemed better than going into a space where you have to do it. And so compliance definitely has a lot of importance and value there for agencies. And it's a great area to build a business because you can build a very, very sticky product. And so I put together that interest of building social networking apps and applied it to this problem domain of compliance and ultimately landed on Archive Social.
And what have you scaled to today in terms of total agencies paying you?
So the number we put out there, we put out nearly 1,500 government agencies, and those are agencies we work directly with, ranging from cities and counties generally, but can include law enforcement, federal agencies as well.
And have you built this kind of from the ground up bootstrapped, or have you raised capital?
So we took a small amount of seed funding. Last funding we took was in 2015, but under $500,000 in cash. So the vast majority of what we've done has been bootstrapped.
And why? So why take a little, like why only like dip your toe in the pond? Like either you don't get in the pond at all or like you cannonball in. Why just a little bit?
So when the company first got off the ground, I was a solo founder, and my first funding was through an accelerator program. And so that initially started the seed funding. And when you're in an accelerator program, the mark of success is raising more money.
Which is ridiculous.
It is. So we ended up not raising more money, but ended up taking cash here and there when a strategic opportunity lends itself. A good example would be Steve Case's Rise of the Rest tour came to town. And it seemed like a smart idea to get Steve involved with the company. And we thought we could use the cash at the time. So we dabbled in those seed funds. But ultimately, we had revenue from day one, and getting the annual paycheck up front from almost all of our customers put us in a position where we really didn't need that funding and haven't needed it since.
Yeah. I mean, and I can do the math. I mean, if you take 1,500 agencies times a $400 per month price point, that puts you at about $600,000 per month. Or if you do them only annual, that's about, over $7 million annually. Are those numbers generally accurate?
So we hold revenue close to our chest, and certainly we have customers that sit at various price points. But
okay, well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm just multiplying your numbers. The first question I asked was, what's average revenue, and you said 5, and then I said how many customers, you said 1,500. So which one of those numbers is not accurate?
Well, the majority of our customers fall under 5,000, but the average is elsewhere. So that's one of the things that we hold close to our chest.
Wait, I
So
don't
we have
understand.
larger
Sorry, I
cities
don't understand what you
states.
mean by that, because an average is typically the average. So talk me through why that's different and why it's lower than $5,000.
Yeah, so this is kind of a common dance with outside inquiries, and so when I get asked the average question, I actually just say, well, most of our customers pay us under 5,000, so not really our average. We have cohorts look at other price points. We have larger customers like the New York Cities of the country that drive a lot more revenue.
Yeah.
So we hold the revenue close to chest, but happy to share that customer number.
The real reason I ask is if there's people listening right now that want to try the platform that maybe are inside of a government agency, they know the least they can spend to get started. So maybe that's a better question. Do you have a freemium product, or what's the least they can spend to try it?
They can try for free for 30 days. We have a sample your archive feature, and then the actual lowest price point is about $2,400 annual.
Okay, and what do they get for that?
And so they get full access to the platform. What we do at our various pricing tiers, we base according to the volume of social media you generate. So are you generating 1,000 records or 10,000 records? We put you in the right tier, and that tier is the lowest tier at 1,000 records a month.
Yep, good. Listen, I won't push you harder on this outside of just saying 1,500 times that minimum price point puts you north of 3.6 million annually. Is it fair to give you credit there and say you're just north of that, and we'll leave it at that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Churn. A lot of other companies that I've interviewed that sell directly to governments, like Seamless Docs, comes to mind. Tell me their churn is just so low because once you get through the long sales cycle, you're in. Do you see that same pattern?
We do. A great benefit of government. And then on top of that, having a compliance product adds to the stickiness.
Yep. So can you share that? What is your churn annually?
Yeah, it's approximately under 0.5% a month. And so annually, the 5 to 6% is where we land up.
And you measure logo churn or revenue churn?
Both ways. And so the variance is actually between the two. So
sorry, there is no variance. They're about equal.
They're in that same range of 5 to 6%,
yeah.
Whichever way you measure it.
And walk me. I hate focusing on the negative, but I'm curious. The people that do churn, why do they churn?
Most oftentimes it comes down to, even though it's a compliance requirement, we're not using social media as much, our budget's being constrained. It comes down to that. We do have competition in our space as well. And so between those two things, if there's price pressure from a competitor, for example, it may lead to some churn.
I see. Okay. And then walk me through this. Is that what that sales cycle looks like? What's your team size today, and how many of those folks are focused on sales?
We're over 50 people, and more than half of the team is in sales.
Oh, wow.
And so we employ a standard SDR, AE model. So we have folks reaching out to set up the meetings. Now, again, core to what we do, and this is really helpful in government, is that we do take that first call as a consulting type call of let us inform you of the issue. We don't sell the product whatsoever. Try to work with that prospect to get them to agree that this is actually an issue they care about. And if not, that's okay. We'll revisit in the future. But after that first call, if they say, yes, this is a need, the way we're using social media is valuable, there is legal risk, there's a legal requirement, we would like to look at your product, then we have that second step. And then from there, we work through the various steps of getting internal buy-in. That's certainly a part of the complexity of selling to government, is that there's multiple stakeholders. And then we try to simplify the purchasing process as much as possible. So we predominantly sell to government. So all of our process is set up to make it easy for them. And having a low price point also helps keep the sales cycle much shorter than you typically see in this industry.
Where is the team based? Is everyone in North Carolina?
We are 100% in Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, great. That's very good. The little research triangle down there. Are you in that research triangle?
We are. We're in downtown Durham, actually, just down the street from Duke University.
Okay, yeah, it's a good spot. So you have a nice, probably a little recruiting engine coming right out of the university.
We try the research triangles. How this place is named. There's so many companies around here, but certainly a lot of talent in the area.
Yeah, you mentioned sales cycles are sometimes shorter because of the lower price point. Walk me through how you think about the economics between CAC and your CAC payback. What do you spend to acquire customers, and how patient are you in getting that money back?
Like a lot of SaaS businesses, we follow the rule of thumb of payback in under 1 year. Okay. Obviously, without us raising outside funds, that's especially important since we do not operate on a burn. And so it is very important that we stay lean in how we operate. With a low price point, there definitely has to be an efficient system in place. And so something that we certainly pay attention to.
So Neil, what do you peg your CAC to today?
It's right around that sort of 1 year type mark. We try to keep it right there.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, so look, as a bootstrap company, that's tough to even wait 12 months though to get that back. I mean, how are you? I guess a lot of it, the cash is actually coming up front, even though the deferred revenue, it would give you a 12-month payback, right?
That's exactly right. We really pay attention more to the cash flow than anything else.
Yep. And that $2,400 you're spending on CAC, which is 1 year of ACV, is most that going towards kind of salespeople commissions, or are you doing a lot of paid spend?
The mix is changing. For the early part of our company, we were very, very sales oriented. But as you scale, you need to find the efficiencies, and so certainly we're investing more in the marketing side and the paid acquisition.
Mm-hmm. And then another question here: you seem like a very rational guy, but when you take your churn, which is very, very low, if you just do the usual kind of lifetime value economics, you could make a rational argument that they're going to stay with you for a very long period of time. Call it 200 months at a $200 like price point. You could per month, you could say that's worth $480K in lifetime value, which is obviously irrational. How do you use lifetime value as a guiding metric and make sure that you don't lie to yourself on accident?
Hey, I really like the way that you put that. It becomes kind of silly when you look further. Now there's a truth to it, but it's also something that you don't bank on. And so we still pay attention to the cost of acquisition and the here and now. The lifetime value makes us feel a little bit better if we're pushing up against the 12-month period. It helps in some of the broader decision making of our certain customer cohorts. Are they worth it? Going after certain big fish. Ultimately, they'll have that long lifetime. So it helps in the broader decision making. But for the operational aspect of the business, it's managing that cash.
Yep. Very good. Last question before we wrap up with the famous five. What's growth look like today? What are you growing at year over year?
So we keep our growth kind of the high double digits.
Okay, got it. So you're talking like north of 50%, but less than 100% year over year?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Very good. All right, let's wrap up with the famous five. Number one, what is your favorite business book?
My favorite business book is High Output Management by Andy Grove.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
It's funny. I'm actually reading another book by Peter Drucker, kind of an old one, but The Effective Executive is a book that I just picked up, and it's been really good to hear. It's very actionable guidance.
So is there a CEO that you're currently following or studying?
I wouldn't say. I mean, like Elon Musk is in the news a ton, and I'm a fan.
All right.
Close as it gets.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building your business?
Favorite online tool for building my business. I'll keep it simple. Get a web presence, WordPress.
WordPress. Good. Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
You count in hours.
Yeah.
Probably about between 4 to 6.
4 to 6. Okay, not bad. So we'll say 5 there. And then what's your situation? Married, single, kiddos?
I'm married with 2 young children.
2. Wow. Okay. So, the 5 hours of sleep makes a little bit more sense there. And Anil, how old are you?
I am going to be 36.
36. Okay. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I think I wish my 20-year-old self knew how much responsibility you get later in life, and to maximize each day in and out, both on the fun side and on being able to really develop your skills and abilities for the future.
Guys, start early when you have less responsibility. You heard it here from Anil. Again, launched the company in 2011 called Archive Social, now serving over 1,500 customers, paying at a minimum $2,400 per year. Healthy economics, 6% gross logo churn per year, getting paid back in under 12 months on a deferred basis, almost instantly on a cash basis because it's all paid up front. Again, selling into governments, helping them stay legally compliant with their social media posts via their archiving feature. Basically bootstrapped, raised $500,000 early on, 50 to 100% year over year growth today with this team of 50 people based mainly in Durham, North Carolina. Anil, thank you for taking us to the top.
All right. Thank you.